Well, good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. How's it going, buddy?
Welcome to the show. I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Do you have the product?
I have the product.
Today is going to be a beta. We have this guy right here, the MFT1 from iData, and it's a beta product, meaning it's not ready for prime time yet. They've given us special permission to film it, talk about it, and we're gonna put it in F150 with an 8-inch touchscreen. There's a lot of things that it does, but mainly what it allows us to do is retain everything factory. So we're gonna retain this whole front bezel, we're gonna retain all these knobs, we're just gonna replace that screen. Sounds cool, right?
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, we got a couple things going on because we've already started just to get through it. Let me show you what we're doing first. So those of you unfamiliar with the Ford dash kit, basically it's broken into 3 parts. You have the screen up here, you have the controls for the radio, CD slot, then you have the air conditioner. This is volume, this is tuning, and then you have these 6 presets, you know, one just like a normal radio. And with this kit, because aftermarket radios really don't have access to these features yet, they give you these buttons to do whatever you want with. So what you can see here is those presets 1 through 6. Over here we have the option by clicking here to choose what we want it to be. So in this case we can display front camera by pressing button 1, button 2 we've made display climate screen, vehicle information screen, navigation screen. We can switch between band, FM, and SAT because he is going to have satellite radio in this. Next widget, it's a Kenwood. And then we can also program down here the eject button to do something because it's not going to have the CD player in it anymore. Once we've found what we liked, we can go ahead and select continue. And then on this page, if you've never seen it before when you're flashing an RR, this is an overview of everything that the truck has. So it shows you a picture of the vehicle, the steering wheel controls you've picked, the radio that you're using, all these special features like vehicle information, parking assist, gauges, climate control, advanced camera features if it has it. These are all the things that you've set up in the car. And then the last thing you do is hit flash here in the bottom. So while it's flashing, let's talk about the whole idea behind this. iData has decided that instead of making a dash kit, it's easier for them just to make a bezel that take out that factory screen, put your radio in that spot, and retain all the cool things like volume up and down, track up and down, because it treats them like a steering wheel control interface, because after all, they're just like a steering wheel control interface. The radio's not attached to those, which you'll see once we get those out. So it's just spitting data here, just like when you're pushing the button on the steering wheel. So as long as the radio is capable of having that command fed to it, why not just use the factory knob to do it? Seems pretty cool. Oh, I think it's done flashing. When it's done, it'll go ahead and show you the firmware and an install guide. Now for this case, the install guide may or may not be complete. Let's see if we can find one for an F150. And it doesn't have one. Which we kind of knew going into it. It being beta, he was like, if you want to try it, there's no instruction manual, so good luck. And we were like, we don't care. We've done enough F-150s. I think we can figure it out. We can unplug our RR. We have the data side of this installation done. This is the brains of the operation. But let's see what comes in the box now. Inside the box you get basically how to flash the unit, the RR. You get the trim panel. Now the reason why it comes with this here to make it a single DIN is because now there are so many radios that are those big, like a Halo 9. We need these now. There's a bunch of different metal brackets. That's right, metal. And we'll have to figure out which one is ours. This is one of the coolest things here. So it comes with this hub. In the factory Ford system, most of the time you have that dual USB, possibly USB aux hub. When there's a hub involved, these aftermarket radios like this Kenwood here and a Pioneer and whatnot, they can't read through the hub. So iData wanted to make sure you still had access to all your stuff, so they're providing you with a new hub. This new hub is going to have dual USB, aux, and HDMI. Whether your radio is capable of having all that, who knows, but they're giving it all to you anyways. Some Fords have bigger mounts for this, so they're including this as well. You also get the harness and the camera retention harness, and of course some screws. In your RR, there's only a couple pieces you're going to need. Obviously the main brain. Grab the bag that has the yellow, red, and black main power harness in it. Pull out this black cable here that has a red, black, white, and blue. That's your data connection. You're gonna need that. Grab your other bag, and inside of that you should find another piece that has an 1/8 inch on one end and a 3 plug on the other that has a black, white, red. You're gonna need that one also. And then that's it for these. There is also a USB in there to flash it if you don't have one already. Now, because it's beta, there is a certain amount of mystery involved in this installation. We don't know everything. There's no instructions. So let's have some fun. Taking them out Ford dashes is something we've done a lot of. This one has the center channel grill on the top here. So grab a pry tool, go ahead and pull up on it. There's 4 clips that hold it in place, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. Just kind of work your way around. Remove it, set it aside. Underneath it, towards the window here, is 2 7mm screws. Once you get that out, grab your pry tool again, and towards the front 2 corners, just kind of pick a corner and work your way across. There's 3 clips, 1 here, 1 in the middle, and 1 over here. Once you remove it, on the back side, there's a clip here for the center channel. Just unplug it. Now you can set it aside. On the top here, there's 2 more 7mm. Once you remove those, grab on either side here, pull it towards you, and it should pop right off. Towards the bottom, there are 2 more clips down here. If you grab the kit in the center, just twist slightly left and then right, and it should pop right off. There's 2 clips at the top for the traction control and the hazard, as well as 2 clips in the middle for your air conditioner and radio. They're located here and here and here and here. Get the screen out. There's 6 7mm screws all the way around it. On the back of the screen, you're gonna have the main power plug here. It just pushes down and releases. There should be a USB and some form of an antenna. Once you've unplugged it, this is done. The only thing we're gonna need this for is to figure out which brackets we're gonna use to attach to our radio. Behind the screen, you'll notice this silver box here. This is gonna have to be relocated down to the bottom. Before that, we need to remove the 4 7mm screws holding in the main radio. Now behind that, you're gonna find 2 more plugs, as well as the antenna for both Sirius XM and FM. The FM is black, the Sirius XM is a mustard color. To get this unit out, there's 3 10mm bolts. Once you've got them all out, slide it forward, move it down, and what you're gonna do is one of these 2 top holes here are gonna relocate to this bottom screw here. Now, I personally like using the one all the way to the passenger side, then put one of the 10mm bolts back in. And then for the bottom here, you'll notice it's lined up with the brace in the back. Put a screw in there to hold that in place. Once we have this out, that's gonna give us the room for our new radio to go in place. We'll go ahead and pull our harnesses down. The next step is going to be getting this USB hub out of the factory spot. There are 2 pinches on the side so that it will come out. Once you get one side, it's easy to get the other and just kind of wobble it back and forth. Behind it, there are a couple plugs. Just remove those, and that's all we have. Taking a look at the factory USB hub, you'll notice it has an angle here, and it's certain width. There's clips here on the top, here on the bottom, here on the side. This is a direct copy of that. It's angled here, it's angled here. The clips are here, the single clip is on top. They did a really nice job matching the 2 up. Same size. We can take this and run this up. Because it is a universal fit, the cable itself is about 6 feet long. So depending on your make and model, it's gonna be long enough to get to where it needs to go. In our case, we only have to go about 12 inches. We'll have to find a place for the rest of this wire. Brackets that it came with has an R2 and an R1, obviously L1, L2. You'll notice there's these little screw points here. The idea is to remove these pieces off of the factory screen and attach them to your corresponding radio bracket. For this, we're gonna have to guess. Your factory screen is going to be a T8. Now looking at what we got going on here, I think I'm gonna try the 2 brackets first. So on the top of the bezel, you have a clip here on the outside, and then on the bottom of the bezel, you have clips located on the inside, about 1 inch in as opposed to a 1/2 inch. And those are gonna correspond to this clip here and this clip here. You can just snap it in place just like that, and then position it over the top of the radio. All right. Let me get this other side on, and then we'll test fit it in the car and see if we chose correctly. Damn, that looks sexy as hell. Ooh, perfect fit. Since we know the radio is gonna fit and it's all looking super sexy in the dash, let's take a look at the harness and what we have going on here. As I said, there's two harnesses in the box. One is the data harness, plugs into the side here, and one is basically the noise harness. So this is for backup sensors and any form of auxiliary sound that comes from the car that needs to go through the unit. That's how that's gonna get put into it. We have this big harness here that has the backup camera retention on it. Now, one thing you'll notice is these three wires hanging off here, as well as this little tag here that says RR2. This isn't compatible with the RR2 yet because it's still in beta. Once this becomes fully active and is RR2 compatible, those 6 preset buttons we had will be able to be programmed with these 3 wires right here. It's a topic for another day, but suffice it to say you'll be able to do different things with those 3 buttons other than what we programmed it for, such as possibly turning on and off lights or anything else in the car that you want it to do. These 3 wires will be programmable for that, but that's a future thing and we're not there yet. We have this plug here though that needs to get plugged into the back side here. It's a black plug. Snap it in place. We have the main power plug. Then we have the green plug that goes next to the power plug. Now make sure those are all pushed in nice and hard. This RR2 one isn't going to go anywhere yet, so we'll just zip tie this guy into place. Now normally we'd pull this all apart and add a bunch of tape to it and get it all pretty, but we're not going to do that today because this is just a beta and we're not to that point yet. If you notice here, it has these RCAs, so if it had the amplified system, you would just simply plug these in and be done. If this one doesn't have the amplified system, what you would do is you'd cut these off and just connect your radio output to these. In his car, he does have all outboard amplifiers and all that, so we're just gonna leave this alone for right now. We'll zip tie that up into place as well. The under end of this harness, we have these standard radio colors. We have constant 12 volts, which is yellow, ground, which is black, red is accessory, light green is emergency brake, purple white is gonna be reverse, blue is gonna be amplified antenna turn on, blue white is going to be amplifier turn on, orange is going to be illumination, and pink is going to be VSS or vehicle speed sense. We can go ahead and hook those up to the Kenwood radio that we're using now. We're not going full on here, so we're actually just gonna crimp this together. I've gone ahead and attached everything up color for color, zip tied up all the wires we're not gonna be using. Before we plug it in, we wanna remove power to this. This is the last thing we're going to plug in. We just plug it in the beginning to mock everything up and get all our links properly. Let's head over into the vehicle and finish this thing up. So we have 3 harnesses we need to plug in. The big main one from behind the screen, that's going to allow us to retain our backup camera, and then the 2 harnesses that were attached to the radio also need to be plugged in. Once we have the radio plugged in and the 2 RR harnesses plugged into the back of the radio, we can then plug in the RR and also all our other connections that we have. Oh, the RCAs aren't bad, it's just that GPS antenna. It is an extremely tight fit, there's no question about it. So a mechaless unit would definitely fit better. However, this metal bracket right here is removable, and we have removed it before for certain installs. There's a 7mm here, a 7mm here, and then there's 2 8s down here, and this whole bracket will actually come out. Obviously, without having the instructions, we're just guessing. We're gonna leave it in for now. We may end up taking it out later. Now, just in case some of you guys are wondering, like, hey, what are you guys doing this like, whose F150 is this? It's Joe's over here. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Joe's a friend of ours who is nice enough to volunteer his F150 for us to have fun with, so it's all good. He's like, hey, have fun, do what you want.
Got it.
Joe's cool. Be like Joe. Joe cool. So one last thing that you have to worry about on this is the wonderful door right here that slides open and close. All this stuff here likes to sit on top of it. So you do have to finagle this stuff up a bit to get it out of the way. Easiest way to do that is to just take like a piece of plastic and stick it in here. That's going to give you a shelf on top of this. But for right now, we're just going to zip tie it up out of the way with a big zip tie. Now the last step, of course, is to go ahead and plug in the air conditioner, control panel, and the radio, as well as your hazard switch, traction control on the top. And then, of course, turn it on and let it go through its startup stage. It's all in, it's on, it's doing what it needs to do. This is the moment of truth. We want to test all these buttons and make sure they work the way they're supposed to. After all, the point of this kit is to retain these doing something. Now, one caveat, the CD slot. The factory CD slot is still there. If you have kids and they stick a CD in there, it's just gonna fall through. If you want, you can add a piece of plastic or some tape or something like that to the back of it to prevent that. We'll start with the steering wheel controls first. Volume up, volume down, source, track. So all those seem to be functioning the way they're supposed to. What we really want to see are these guys here. Does the volume knob do what it's supposed to? Ooh, look at that! There's our volume control. Tune is going to allow us to switch between AM and FM. There's our AM, FM, track up and down. Look at that. Source, media. So all the factory buttons are doing what they're supposed to. Now we have our presets to play with. There's our air conditioning controls. There's our car functions showing us our tire pressure, and our 2 front doors are open. We'll test the AC real quick just to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to. Fan speed. Yep. Cool. Check the high temp. That's hot. We don't want that. That's cold. Perfect. And then of course it appears here on the screen. Make sure your door still opens and closes, but there's your hub all in place. Plug the phone in. There's the Android Auto working through our new hub. What's the weather like today?
The forecast tonight in Clearwater is 84 and clear.
Let's check the factory backup camera. And it also has backup sensors, which you can see right here. And they're going crazy. Now, if you didn't have factory backup camera, but you did have sensors, the whole screen would just be this car and would show you your backup sensors. Now, I must say, as far as a beta goes, this one's pretty awesome.
It's really cool, honestly.
I mean, people have asked us to beta test before, and it's like, yeah. I mean, most of the time it's beta, so it's usually pretty close to being done. Sometimes it's not. This one is beyond close to being done.
Yeah,
it's pretty sexy.
Everything's working fine right now, so
yeah. Well, one of the reasons why we're giving it to Joe is so that he can run it through its course and he can find problems with it. That's the whole reason why these companies have the beta test program, is so that we can put this stuff in, people can go drive it, and they can break it. That way, by the time it comes to you, it's fully functional.
Right.
You guys that have Fords that have that 8-inch touchscreen in it, there is hope for you. If you have the Explorers, the Expeditions, the cars, the Tauruses, and all those that have that 8-inch touchscreen in it, and you hate it, pretty soon you're gonna be able to put a normal radio in there and still use those cool buttons from the factory. Yep. That's pretty awesome.
That is cool.
We'd like to thank iData for giving us the opportunity to play with this new dash kit. It's been a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed this too. As always,
thank you for watching. On to the next one, guys.
Bye.